I'm not as tall as you, Brandon. All right, guys, if you guys would bow your head with me, let's invite God into this moment. Father, all we ask is that not our will, but yours. Open our hearts, open our minds. Let us be present with the truth. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this fellowship, and thank you for your love. We pray in Jesus' precious name. Amen. All right, gang.
Story.
Let's get into it. Has anybody
Has
seen the movie Secret Life of Walter Mitty? Yes, this is falling. Hold on. Okay, so this movie originally was a short story. It was in the New York Times in like 1939, and I read it for the first time the other day, but I'd seen the movie from like the 1940s or so with Danny Kaye, an old movie, and then they remade it recently, like what, 2012 or something, and I'm like, wait, that was a long time, that's 10 years ago. And I remember when I watched it, I was at a certain place in my life, and I just remember feeling so stuck in life. Feeling like I was going nowhere, that I was too afraid to do anything, to move forward. I felt so held back by my own feelings, my own fears, my own worries. And I remember that when I watched this movie, it spoke to me so deeply. It felt like a very direct message from God. It felt like it was exactly what I needed when I needed it. And I didn't really understand that at the time, though. Now I look back and I'm like, oh, yeah, no, that changed my life. And I don't know about you, but I've had several movies or songs or books be a very big source, a catalyst of change, like a complete redirecting in my life. I have a list of them, which I can't remember off the top of my head, don't ask me. So this question came up when I was thinking about speaking today, and it was the question of what is holding you back? You have to answer the question, what is holding you back from? You know your life situation, but what's holding you back? So the story of Walter Mitty, for those who don't know, and a reminder for those who do, there's a man. His name is Walter Mitty, and he's in charge of photographs for Life magazine. And he's unassuming, he's quiet, he daydreams often, he fantasizes about a life he's never lived. He lives in his head. He has a crush on this girl that's at his job. He's never talked to, he's too afraid, but she has an online dating profile. So he made an online dating profile just so he could wink at her. And then he works up the courage to wink at her, and then it doesn't work. Like the computer system doesn't work. And so he ends up, he's like, I tried it and it didn't even work. So he wishes he was more than he was. He wishes that he was what she put on her profile, which said, I want a man who is adventurous, brave, courageous, the ABCs, right? And he compares what she wants to his own life, his dull, uninspired, and predictable life that he feels he leads. So I want to show you the first clip of this movie. We're going to show you a tad bit of what it looked like to be Walter Mitty. He lives in his fantasies. The only adventures he has are in his mind. I used to feel like that all the time. I felt like the only things that were noteworthy were things I just imagined myself doing in my head. I didn't feel like I could actually go and do them. I didn't feel adventurous. I wanted to be. I didn't feel brave. I wanted to be. I knew I was creative, but I didn't know how to let it out. Something was always stopping me. So the story goes on. He finds out that his company is being acquired, right? And the magazine's going digital, so it's going to be the last edition of the printed magazine. And a real jerk is in charge of the transition, and Walter gets sent a special negative from a guy named Sean, who is a famous photographer, and he he gets a negative that he's supposed to print for this last edition of the magazine. Sean calls it the Quintessence of Life magazine. Quintessence is this, it means like the fullness and richness of something, like the very definition of something. And so he also gets a gift from this photographer. It's a little wallet. But when he gets the package with these things, he can't actually find the negative. There's like a bunch of different negatives, but he can't find the one. It's negative number 25, and he cannot find it. So he doesn't know what's happening, and he gets a lot of pressure from this jerk guy in charge, and he wants to impress his crush, right? And he has never lost the negative in the 15 years he's worked there. And so he feels the need to do something, to do more. And he's always thinking about the more he could do, but it's always in his head. It's just in his head. He's saving dogs' lives, right? He's making prosthetics, but it's only in his head. And he doesn't think that real life has room for this kind of intensity or even action. And so he decides to do something about it rather than just imagine. But in the moment, he's not thinking about, you know what? I should stop daydreaming and do something. He had a motivation to go and do something, right? That combination of, the crush will think I'm impressive. My boss is really breathing down my neck. My reputation, right? Sometimes that's why we do something, because somebody else will think something about us, or because we feel pressure, right? A lot of times that's what kind of puts us on the road to something. And it's English. In English, the word Mitty-esque has made its way into the English language, describing somebody who only spends more time dreaming and daydreaming about heroic things than paying attention to the real world. In the original story, Walter Mitty only ever dreams. That's it. The whole short story is a man who just keeps daydreaming and never actually does anything. It's pretty sad. The remakes are like nothing like it. So it's essentially somebody who intentionally attempts sometimes to mislead or convince others that he is something he is not, because he wants to protect his reputation. He wants to seem cooler than he is, right? Ego, fragile ego. But it's interesting. There's a part of the movie, and I'll show the clip up next. There's a part of the movie where you see the decision happening in his face. And I want to watch that now, and I want you to observe this whole process, okay? Watch it. He's trying to do something because this Sean guy, right, sent the thing and he can't find it, so now he's like, I have to find him. Where could he be? He talks to the girl he has a crush on, Cheryl in accounting, aka Kristen Wiig. And she says, well, we send the receipts to a couple places, the last places you've been. To New Jersey. And he's like, cool, we're in New York. It's a train ride away. And he goes, or Greenland. So he goes, oh, that's not a train ride away. And so remember, he's never been anywhere but Phoenix, right? Where have you been? What have you done? I went to Phoenix one time, but it was a layover, so I don't know if it counts, right? So this is all new for him. This is huge for him. But he does it because he feels responsible. And he wants to do what he can to fulfill his work assignment, right? But what awaits him looks like a dead end, okay? He gets there, then what? He doesn't know where to look for him. It's an entire country. Where am I going to find this guy? But this is the only lead I have. It's interesting. Right away, I already see, right? The question in the Apocalypse series is, where do you see God in this? How do you see the character of Jesus? At that point, I see him going from just daydreaming, just imagining, to trying, to doing. And I see his persistence, his determination, and his willingness to do more than what he's been doing. And so he goes from just imagining to acting, and I wonder, what is it that maybe you have felt called to do and haven't done? What is it that you are willing to go through and to do, maybe, to follow through on, that you haven't done? How's your trust? What obstacles are you allowing to be bigger than God right now? And what is your testimony of God's goodness and effectiveness in your life? A story from my own life this week. In preparing for this sermon, I had this moment. I experienced insecurity. I talked to Brandon about it. I talked to some friends about it. I talked to my partner about it. And I kid you not, I was at my desk getting ready for something, and I was like, God, I need a sign, okay? I'm asking for a direct Gideon-esque, like, give me a straight up, just tell me that I'm on the right track. And I used those words, okay? I'm about to go into a meeting, and I'm looking for my notebook, and I can't find the notebook. So I go and look for a different notebook of mine, and I know where that one is. And as I go over to it, I grab it, go back, sit down, open it. This is all less than 5 minutes, okay? Open it to a note that my partner had written to me 3 weeks before. She wasn't even necessarily writing it to me. She was writing it like as a memory to remember something that we had been talking about. And the words were, hold on, I took a picture of it. The words were as follows. Remember, this is 3-week difference. To me, I understand now that you are looking for confirmation that you are on the right track. And I just looked at it. I sat down and I went like that. She didn't know I just prayed that. She wasn't in my head. She doesn't know I prayed that. But she wrote what I asked for. God, please help me know I'm the right track. You're on the right track. Okay. I guess you saw it coming. And so I resonated with what Kristen was saying right now, where years ago, God said, you'll need later. Don't worry. You don't know that your dreams aren't just dreams. They're your future speaking to you about what you're capable of, about what you need to embrace, about what God has put in your heart to do and be. They're not just dreams. They're your desires trying to come out, to speak into existence. So he wants to be adventurous. He wants to be brave. He wants to be creative. He is those things. He's not acting on it. Throughout the story, you see little bits of him. We didn't have enough time to do all the clips, but there's another scene where he meets Cheryl and her son, and he starts doing some skateboard stuff and tricks. Like he's an amateur skateboarder, and he's doing all these tricks because he used to, as a teenager, be into skateboarding, and won some awards and stuff. And he's not daydreaming this particular scene, but Cheryl's back is turned, and she's on the phone with the kid's dad, her ex, and so he's doing all the tricks, and then she turns around, and they're talking, and then he's just back talking to normal, and you're going, wait, he can do that. He wasn't daydreaming. He can do that. So why isn't he doing it? He's capable. Why isn't he doing it? So then, another part is, he lost his father when he was younger, and he had been doing all these creative things and adventurous things, but that's where you see the trauma came in. His father died, and he felt responsible to take care of the family. So he quit all the extracurricular stuff, and he went and worked at Papa John's, at KFC, wherever they would take him. And the mom said, I thought it was sad that you worked at a place named after a father, because I didn't know if you'd be able to handle working at a place with that father-like name. He goes, well, it's Papa John's. I never called Dad father, so it was fine, right? But you see this story because later on he's in a Papa John's and he's struggling being there because he's reminded of his dad and the love he had. But you see him being beckoned, right? He imagines Sean going, come on, do it. Sean didn't actually tell him to come. Walter decided to go. He said, I'm going to go to Greenland. Let me look for Sean. So he goes on this adventure, and he's going around Greenland. And then he ends up in this bar, and he's looking for clues, right? Specific pictures that he does have to lead him to the picture he doesn't have. So eventually, he ends up in this bar, and there's a guy singing karaoke who's very, very drunk. And he starts talking to him, and all of a sudden, he says something that bugs the guy, and the guy starts poking at him, and then all of a sudden, they're in a fight. And Walter, who is not an adventurous, bold person, all of a sudden is fighting somebody, and the guy's like, hey, you have gumption, But then also the guy's about to, like, pummel him with a broken, beer bottle. But at that point, all of a sudden, he notices this guy has a ring on his finger. And one of the pictures he has is a thumb with a ring on the finger. And he's like, wait, let me see your thumb. And then the guy basically says, hey, yeah, Sean was here like 3 hours ago. And he went onto a boat that, there was a picture of that, the something in the language, I can't pronounce it, I won't try. And he says, man, I just missed him. And he goes, well, can we call the boat? And he goes, well, I'm about to go out to the boat in my helicopter and give them a radio piece so that they can, because their radio broke. And he goes, well, can we call them? He goes, I'm going to give them the radio piece. Their radio broke. He goes, oh, you want to go with me? I'm going to go. Now, here's the big thing. This guy's very, 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 very drunk. The helicopter pilot. Extremely. He's going, and you want to go? And the guy's like, I'm going to say no, because that feels dangerous. So this next scene is what happens after he parts ways with this gentleman, right? He found a clue. He found something, and he could go for it. But he gets disheartened because there's this obstacle, right? So the guy's walking away, and Walter's just looking at him. So let's watch this next scene. You'll have to watch the movie to see what happens. So he jumps. He makes this moment he has this moment of decision. And the fear, the doubt, the hesitation, you see it on his face. He wants to. First he walks, then he runs, because he knows if he doesn't, he will miss this opportunity. The fall. He jumps again in the wrong direction. That first jump, he did it. He landed. He stuck the landing, and he did it. And then he has to trust all over again. And then he makes a mistake. Sounds like our lives. A lot of times we jump over on the wrong side of the boat. But if we did it in good faith and at least we tried our best, what you don't see is after that scene, after he jumps in the water and you see him sinking, his little case like pulls him up, and he loses the radio part, and he's in the water, and people from the boat are yelling, don't worry, you have a minute till you die and freeze to death. And he's like, what? And they're like, you're fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. He sees a fin. And they're like, stay calm. But there's a fin. No, it's a porpoise. It's just a porpoise. And he's like, okay. And he's like, come here. It's a shark. Spoiler alert. And he starts screaming, it's not a porpoise. It's not a porpoise. And it's just, it's hilarious and scary at the same time. They grab him, they put him in the boat, they get him on the big boat, and he's safe. But they still don't have a radio, and Sean has already left. He missed him again. It feels like we chase our purpose and our meaning and the why of our life a lot of times, like we're chasing it. We're always right behind it, never quite catching up. Like, God, don't you want me to just do what you want already? Sometimes the journey is what God wants, though. Because in the journey is the trust building. In the journey is the small moments of, okay, he's coming through. I'm on track. I'm right on track. I'm right where I need to be. You may not realize it till later. I have not realized it till later, and I know there's plenty that God's just saving in some file cabinet for me, and he's like, this is for the year 2028, don't worry about it. Or the year 2050, who knows? Because God knows what I need when I need it. There's that gospel song, he may not be there when you want him, but he'll be there right on time. So, we all have our Mitty moments. Ones where we doubt and run away, but we can also be the Mitty who takes courage and goes where they're sent. Because it was already in him. Now, there's one more scene I want to show you. And there's no script. This is what happens after he gets off the boat. And he's sure that he's catching up to Sean. He gets to this place, and he doesn't understand the language. Everybody's yelling and like running around, scared, and he doesn't know why. Everything's deserted, and he doesn't know why. And so he's like, but I still gotta find Sean. What he doesn't know is that there's an active volcano about to erupt. Because he made it from Greenland, and now he's in Iceland, because he's following Sean's trail. So what you see here is Walter, at a point where he's already lived through multiple scary things. And Todd, the guy from eHarmony, calls him, and he's like, hey, just catching up, and just trying to see if we can update your profile anymore. And he asks him, has he done anything? And he goes, well, I jumped off a helicopter and I fought a shark. And the guy's like, okay, you're still daydreaming, aren't you? And he goes, no, it really happened. It really happened. And he goes, whoa, okay, you'll definitely get winks from that. And he goes, okay, well, I gotta go. Okay, bye. In the middle of Greenland. So let's watch this next clip. When I first watched that scene, I sobbed. Because at that moment, he was experiencing feeling alive. Where had he been just a couple days before? Fantasizing about even being able to wink at somebody he liked. And yet at this point, he's jumped off a helicopter. He swam in the ocean with sharks. He has triumphed over himself. He has overcome his own fears, the things that were holding him back from going and doing the things he wanted to. He used to be a skateboarder. All of a sudden, he's going, I'm doing it again. I feel so alive. There's so much more to the story. She's just behind Sean. He sees Sean on a plane standing, taking pictures of the erupting volcano. And somebody comes and gets him and whisks him out of the way, and he's scared of dying. But he keeps going through these experiences that are just so life-shattering, changing. And here's my question, or here's an insight, I should say. When you go where God has called you, you will see new sights. You will soar to new heights. You will experience new wonders and be humbled. It will not be what you expect. The Bible records people being thrown into lions' dens and living, becoming vice pharaohs of Egypt, but after being thrown into another den. There's a lot of pits and dens back then. Being crucified, healing the sick, seeing the dead come to life. Unbelievable, extraordinary, remarkable things. History also records people who encounter God and do what he asks, scared. We are not called to mediocrity. We're called to excellence in character, in kindness, and in love. He pushes himself. He challenges himself. At the end of the film, somebody asked him, how are the daydreams going? And he goes, I have them way less now. Because he's living it. He's living the thing that God has inspired into him. He's living the thing that was always in him. When you pursue God and you do it with all your heart, and you pursue truth, love, life, these are the things that God is. I am the way, the truth, the life. You don't live life itself except through these things. You don't have a fulfilled life except through these things. So all this to say, Walter, he goes back. He gives them the negative, he doesn't know what the negative is still. And he ultimately finds it in the wallet he had all along. He went and did all these things, but it was there all along. That's the entire point. God has already put it in you. He's already created it. He's already made it. He's already blessed it. You've already been authorized. You've been approved. Go, do it. The obstacles we put in our way many times, we cause our own suffering. I know I have. For real. But Brandon knows. But we are in a space of learning to stay humbled and go, what else can I learn? Humility is not, no, I don't know how to know, stop. It's, I know what I know, and I'm open to learning more. I'm a therapist, and I like to tell my clients, how would you feel if I said, I'm an okay therapist? We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I hope they walk away. No, I know what I know, and I know I'm good at it, but there's always room to learn more. I love Jesus, and there's always room to learn more. I like to be kind and loving to people. There's always room to do better and to know more about how to do good in people's lives. This song, this movie, is so inspiring to me. And there's a song that is equally inspiring to me. And if you know me, I love music, and it's a very big part of how I express myself. So I had a song that written by Phil Wickham, and it's called Carry My Soul. And I wanted to share it with you guys today as part of my message, okay? I pray that you listen to the words, and one of the main things, it's interesting, before I do that, the thing that you saw as Mitty was running, right, through the airport and all that stuff, it was a quote from life that says, to see the world, things dangerous to come, to see behind walls, draw closer, to find each other and to feel. That is the purpose of life. Now, it was talking about the magazine life, but this is all what God is asking us to do too. Do things that you feel dangerous. You'll see what I do in you. See behind walls, see behind people's walls. Draw closer to me, to each other. That's the purpose of life.